Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday to you all. Friday Eve, as I like to call it. Hope everybody's doing good. Got another quick one here, a little bit more than it was on Tuesday, but this will be our first, I think, live on a Thursday, right?
I think we did it once before,
Maybe before Tinley.
a while ago.
Yeah, which will probably happen again soon. So, well, when Tinley happens, and dang, that's like 3 weeks now? Something like that. I still gotta get our VIPs. So,
2.
is it 2? Yeah, whatever.
It's 2 weeks after this weekend, yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna start streaming on Thursdays instead of Tuesdays. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's gonna be every other week. Typically, it'll be every other week. So it'll be a live, then a recorded one that'll go up on Friday. The next week, that is. So we won't always have a live every week, and we won't always have a regular auction because, well, I'm covering it anyways. So on that day, so you can always watch the VOD. So, but yeah, we'll get started here pretty shortly. But that is the new format going forward. I'll probably repeat it again at the end and whatnot, so that everybody who joins can hear it. If you were kind of normally expecting us on Tuesdays, that is gone at least for now. We might do occasional things, one-offs, but in general, we're going to use that day to do other things, whether it be the actual, planning of snake stuff or work around here, video ideas, actual videos, recordings. So, yeah. So how is everybody doing? Hi, Sarah. How are you? I don't know what to say to the eyeballs. And my car does not suck. At least I don't like so. But yeah, let's go ahead and get it going here. You make sure that the camera works again. You said it does, right?
It should be. The green light on?
It is. Hi. All right. There's more for sure this week, but there's only some of them that I wanted to talk about specifically. Let me actually hit refresh here. See what's up. Hey Macamorph, how are you? What is up? So, first one I'm gonna talk about is I think the last one we talked about. How on Tuesday. So how appropriate. I think it was the last. If not the last, it was close to it. So, and that would be this Banana Inchy Super Asphalt right here. It has since risen a bit, I think. And I suspect that it might have a little bit of a bidding war. There's a lot of interest in this one here. Couple names that have popped up a couple times within the last few hours. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see a little bit of action on this one in the last 10 to 5 minutes for sure. But the big thing about this is having a super asphalt is absolutely incredible, because you are always guaranteed to get an asphalt. And an asphalt by itself isn't the most spectacularly looking animal in the world. It's very subtle, and it looks exactly like yellow belly. But if you wanted to work the freeways, the freeway projects, any of those yellow belly type projects, this is a big time ad, especially for a female. Again, whenever you have a super, it's always going to pass on one copy, and usually if you're in the freeways, you would understand that freeways cannot reproduce themselves. It's not possible, because the combo of asphalt and yellow belly only they act like a super itself, so only one copy of those are going to go, and you're never going to know which one, because they look exactly alike unless you send in a shed test RGI. This one, however, guarantees that asphalt will always pass. So if you were to breed something like a freeway to it, you would either get super asphalts, or you would get the freeway combo. On top of that, having Banana Inchy in it means that you can produce Mardi Gras and Banana Mardi Gras. And on top of that, even further, the banana isn't a female, which means that you avoid the goofy all male or all female throws that the male bananas have, due to how it's linked to the sex chromosome, the banana gene that is. So lots of definite see someone won something. I'll get to your comment in just a second, but lots of cool different applications for this. Obviously this is what I would be wanting to go for. Now this is one of the best examples I've ever seen of one, but this is I've shown this many times. In fact, I showed it I think last video. The banana Mardi Gras, it's a female maker, so this is a male, by the way, but that kind of goes to show you that every single one that's a banana from this, it with 95% probability will be a female in this case. Most of them I feel like are male makers though, so, and that had frustrated people for quite some time. But there's just such incredible colors to this. It literally looks like cartoon fire down at the bottom, and the closest to red I've really seen in terms of what's outlining this highlighter yellow. And what's cool is that it's all surrounded by a very stark white, so lots of potential, and that's what you can make with something like this. And it's cool in and of its own right, but when you look at that and realize that you're only missing the yellow belly, so you put yourself to either an ivory or, you know, a freeway itself, or just a yellow belly, and you could have that potential for sure. So alrighty, let's see. I won an auction shortly before your stream on Tuesday. Oh, very cool. Looks like you visual male clown het VPI, Xantic het pied. Lots of potential triple het right there. Very cool. So I would recommend getting a visual Xantic, VPI Xantic pied that's het for clown female to increase your odds if you can swing that. But that's very, very cool. Alrighty. But yeah, this one here has just a lot of potential. We're going to bounce back and forth here. At least I'm going to try to remember to do so. So I can try to catch these auctions. I like to always pick one to maybe see through to the end. And we've had them bidding wars, honestly. We've had bidding wars last the entirety of the video before and watched a snake climb to insane stratospheres. And this has the potential to do that being a super asphalt. I've seen them go for quite a bit. Like I said, the super asphalts are pretty sought after, so I'd be surprised to not see a little bit of action here. So, all right, moving on though. In the meantime, to this Suma het pied, also another super. Suma is the copy of Super Mahogany, and I think that, you know, I'm just now realizing that's where it got its name probably. Super SU Mahogany MA Suma. I never really put that together until just now. At least I'm assuming that's what it's from. I just assumed it was just kind of a cool name, honestly. But yeah, same thing goes here. Super is going to always produce one copy of the Mahogany moving along, but what you're really looking for here is the Suma pied, which is my favorite of the dark pied snakes. It effectively makes a very dark snake. Sometimes very, very dark. There's some variability in them, and sometimes it's not always dark. Sometimes it's kind of cool, like you'll get nearly all black and then some like mahogany type brown. Doesn't make sense considering it's mahogany, and they like clash together. There was one of them, it just looked like two planets colliding, and it was just so chaotic. They almost throw vibes of being slightly paradoxed, but they're not paradoxed. They're just really cool. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about right here. See how in the video here, I'm going to keep it paused for a moment. It goes from this like almost like stained wood type coloring to a much more dark color, dark brown, and then just pitch black right over here. Same exact thing goes on throughout it. It almost, like I said, the head pattern right there, same thing. It just almost looks like it is a bit. Let me try to find a good pause mark there. There we go. It almost looks like it's a bit paradox just with how inconsistent it is, which is cool. It's just insane, and it's not paradox, like I said. And then you get this much darker blotch right here. And what's awesome about them is that you have the stark white for it to be on, so it adds so much more contrast to it as well. Suma pieds are easily my favorite. When I first saw my first one in person too, I was just like, yeah, this is my favorite of the dark pieds. There's no doubt. But there's a lot of variety here too, because look at something like this. It's much more dark. That's approaching the Panda Pied levels. And if you're wondering, the Panda Pied is the copies of 2 black pastels with Pied. The only problem with that, well, there's 2 problems. From just a visual standpoint, black pastel, believe it or not, even though it's a dark gene, produces pieds that are pretty high white. So 2 copies of it certainly do the same thing. So most Panda Pieds are very, very high white. Some of them I've even seen. It's completely within the realm of possibility to get an all white Panda Pied, and that's kind of defeats the purpose, right? And then on top of that, 2 copies of black pastel do increase your odds of getting a kinked snake. It's not to the point of over 50% or something crazy like that. It's not even anywhere near that realm. In fact, people have produced major clutches. I saw a video today of someone producing 4 Panda Pieds, I think it was, and 1 super black pastel, and not a single issue with any of them. Like, the odds on that are incredible. But just to hit that many. But it does increase the odds of a kinked snake. But mahogany doesn't. Mahogany does not do that. I'll take a quick glance over here. Looks like it has dropped below the 5-minute mark. But there's a lot of variety here, because then again, is that the same snake? I think that is. Yeah. So you can see the difference variety between these 2, though. And you can definitely... These are actually the ones I prefer more. I like this sort of chaotic type look to it. It's a controlled chaos. Sumapides are awesome. And you can quite easily, if you add 1 copy of black pastel to this, there's no problem here there, get an incredibly dark snake. It's even darker in my opinion, and no issues whatsoever with it. So let's see, Macamorph. I picked 2 auctions a few days ago. One, a pastel hypo desert ghost, and the clown project. Very cool. So hypo and DG work so well together, and pastel works great with it too. So probably one of the bright snakes out there, no doubt. You got pastel hypo DG. I was watching that. Good price. That's good to hear, though. So yeah, I've toyed with the idea. I do not have any desert ghost. I don't work it, but I'm toying with the idea of doing some collaborations with people and such like that. I actually want to do a collaboration with Sunset soon with my Monarch. So, and if it's dark screen, you see that, it's because again we still haven't fixed our light. So the light is that it's the computer screen. When I click on dark things, I go, yeah. So we'll get it fixed when we feel like buying a new light that actually works this time. So girlfriend wants a black snake, but I'm trying to stick to only buying snakes for the projects. Well, good luck with that. No, I'm just if you want to work a snake that's dark but make it work into your project, you can probably do that. Blackhead works with just about anything. That one's a really dark snake. I think we got some blackheads we're going to look at a little bit later here. There's good combinations with that. You can get really dark snakes. And then pitch black snakes too. If you want like a cleanup crew, if you're a breeder, I still need to get one at some point. I had 2 and I just had no luck with them. Get yourself a king snake, and in your case get a Mexican black king snake. Although they're not exactly typically the most handleable snakes in the world. They love food, and you can make the excuse that you need a cleanup crew. And you might be wondering what I'm talking about. Not for rodents, unfortunately, but for if you get a well, the unfortunate thing when you're breeding bull pythons is that sometimes you get snakes that aren't going to make it, and you need to call them, and it sucks. But can you go see what he was wanting?
I don't have the match.
Oh well.
I have to cover the camera.
The unfortunate thing is that you're gonna need to call them, and unless you want to do something dirty yourself, a good way to do that is a king snake. King snakes eat snakes. Anything with king in the name do that. So, yeah. So it's a good idea to maybe have one, especially if you don't want to do the unfortunate business yourself. I try to give every snake, if I get one, the most opportunities possible I can to let them live. Most of the time, it's pretty obvious that they can't. I actually have one right now that's kinked near the neck, and I don't think it's going to make it. I'm probably going to have to call that one, but I'm trying to give it every opportunity. I was able to assist feed it once, but I had to literally cut the rodent apart, and that's not long-lastingly ideal. It might live like a year, but after a while, it's just not going to grow, and it's going to have organ problems due to that. But, yeah, that might be a good idea. Get one like that, and that way you kind of have a reason to have it. So let's go back here and take a look. Did I miss it? I did. I don't think it went up anymore. Huh. Yeah, it must not have. Wow, somebody got an absolute steal here. So give us just a second here.
Slide this thing over the camera.
Because apparently, just cover your face with your hands. If nobody knows what we're talking about, my brother's not allowed to be seen for some reason.
Yep.
There, you're in it. Oh, there's your back. It's just a long-standing joke, even though he's in videos sometimes, and I think he's in one of our Tinley walkthroughs. But yeah, it's just an internal joke. You're not allowed to see his face. So, some people here call him the Owl Man because he has an owl mask occasionally. I don't know where the heck it is though. So. Alright, anyways, moving on from that. Disappointed we missed this one, and that we didn't have a bit of a bidding war. There's the owl mask.
Did you uncover it?
Yeah. Alright, but we're going to go ahead and move on. Real quick though, another option if you just want to get a dark snake but not a black snake is, this. And Suma, mahogany works well with anything too, so. Alright, go ahead and move on. This one won't be for everyone. The next two, in fact, won't be for everyone. But I always like showing off opportunities for something like this. Because anytime you get a proven breeder or a close to proven breeder, I think it's important for certain people depending on where you're at in terms of breeding. So let's just say you have a snake and you're like, I like this. I've been watching stuff. I have the knowledge in terms of just a pure, just watching stuff. And I think I want to take a stab at breeding. Well, buying hatchlings is great and raising them up is wonderful, but it takes 3 years. So if you wanted to go and invest a significant amount and step to a certain level and kind of start making a splash right away, you have a lot of work ahead of you. And during that time, you technically do not have any hands-on experience with breeding at all until it happens. You could invest a significant amount and then go, oh, this isn't for me. Now, with that being said, it is, I don't want to use the word easy. I guess it is. It's not that difficult to breed ball pythons. They're very agreeable creatures, and you just need the right incubation, and then they let them do their work. But there's something to be said when you're dealing with that, when you're, collecting eggs. It can be scary, depending on how you want to do that. The actual hatching of them, stuff like that, what could go wrong. So anyways, I like to show off proven breeders for that reason, even if they're not, incredibly, not a lot of stuff going on in terms of what you can do with them, but you can still make cool things nowadays. 5-10 years, well, yeah, for sure 10 years ago, but yeah, 5 years ago, this snake would have been a whole heck of a lot more money. And same thing with any proven breeder or nearly breeder size animal. And I think that it's cool to have an animal that you can get and get the experience before you start maybe investing a ton of money and a ton of time. So getting proven breeders, maybe you get a few things and you say, okay, I think I want to do this. You get yourself some proven breeders, but you can still make cool things while you're at it. My idea for this one would be to get a GHI clown male to put it to, and make GHI Mojave clowns. Those are awesome. Those are really awesome, and they still sell quite decently, quite frankly. And you'd still be making a really cool animal for not a whole bunch of investment money, but the skill set that you're getting out of it and the experience to actually do the process of collecting the eggs, getting the going through the incubation process, the hatching process, and then raising the animals, raising the babies when you first get them. Because when you bought a hatchling, they should have been consistently feeding in some regards at least. So you might have had to deal with some hunger strikes. I mean, anybody who has ball pythons, I'm assuming, would have some issues at first. But it's different when they're just born. So getting that skill set, I think, is cool. It's really important, in my opinion. And then once you have it under your belt, which, you know, theoretically they'd be laying in a year, right? You can then maybe you're like, okay, you know, I've affirmed to myself that this is a good, this is something I want to do. And now I'm going to. And then you lay down the wallet, so to speak. So I think it's a cool idea, and you can still make cool snakes while doing it. You don't have to get normals and make normals. Nothing wrong with the way the normal looks, but there's a lot of them out there. So while you're at it, you can make it. You make cool things at the same time, and this is a really good price. Sure, it's got, I swear that was just 47. It probably was. About 2 days left. So yeah, lots of cool things you can make still with this girl here that will probably be ready by the end of the year. So before I jump into the comments again, I'm going to jump to our next one here, and that would be a actual ready to breed proven breeder in this pastel clown. I know pastel and is not, you know, just by itself anyway, at least with clown, is sometimes looked down upon, but again, my previous point stands. This will probably be an animal that will go for pretty cheap. It's a proven breeder, and it's ready to go because it laid in 2023, and it was not paired last year or this year. So, or at least it was not paired this year. So I think that would be a really good one to get. Pretty big female at that. What's that? Has a nip in its tail from a rat. Oh, that wouldn't affect it breeding, as long as it's not above the cloaca. But it's always good to show anything like that when you're selling an animal, which would probably make it go cheaper as well, quite frankly, in some cases. So yeah, same point applies. If you are in that area where you want to think about start breeding, but it seems a little daunting, or you don't know if you want to invest, you know, into certain projects without, you know, because it's a big commitment. It's like 3 years to get the females the size. Get a proven breeder and prove to yourself that is for you. So, all right, now we'll jump into some of the comments here. King snakes do their thing. Yep, yeah, they will eat your called ones for you if you so need them to, and they will be a garbage disposal for everything. Quite frankly, king snakes get a lot bigger than people think they do. They're just not the greatest for handling. Not that they're mean. I just think that they really like food, and they don't care what form that comes in at all. That's local to me. I considered that particular snake for my girlfriend's project. If you're talking about that sumapide, then that would be cool. Especially, I mean, anytime you get a local one. Chimera is a really good one, by the way. If that's the one you were talking about, they're really solid. Really, really solid and great quality. But yeah, I mean, you could easily talk to them and say, hey, you know, I'd like to just meet up, and then you wouldn't have to do that $65 shipping. So, how are you, picture perfect pythons? Agragrin. Football practice, finally made it. Were you at football practice? But yes, glad you can make it. Oh, the Mojave clown. So yeah, if you're in that area where you were, you know, if you wanted to start making things, see, that's what I'm saying though, is you can make great stuff with this. Like I said, my immediate thought is the GHI clown to put to it, and you know, you could probably get a little bit more for your money in terms of a male. They're going to be cheaper, quite frankly, as well. But a GHI Mojave clown, they're really cool. In fact, you know, I got time. We're making good time on this. GHI Mojave clown. I will make, well, it does pull up ball python for that. Here we go. That's a great example of one. And of course, it comes from Canova. Oh, well, it's on Worldable Pythons though, so yeah, there you go. That's a GHM Mojave clown. Really solid, incredible looking animal with, I mean, it's not that difficult to make. So that's what you could do with something like that if you get the GHI gene to put against it. That is, so let's make Purple Passions. That's another good one too. So, yeah, anytime you can take advantage of the ones, the visuals you can make for the Blue-Eyed Lucy complex, go for it. Alrighty. I knew we were looking at a blackhead one, so and that'd be this blackhead orange dream pied het clown, a female at that. There's a moderate amount of interest, and it's obviously reached 300, so looks like someone's definitely wanting it for sure. But there's a lot of cool potential with this, because blackhead, well, Orange Dream is obviously great with pied and clown, but blackhead is a very versatile gene. It is a dark gene in name, and in practice as well. It is a dark gene. It doesn't just create a dark head like you see here. It does add darkness to the overall body of the snake, but I say in practice technically because some of the brightest snakes I've ever seen are blackhead. It's absolutely true. It works incredibly well with everything. Blackhead, when put to light genes, does not compete. It cooperates, and they work together to create incredible contrast. And when I say I really like dark morphs, because I do, I mean that I really like contrast. And if anybody watches this channel, they know that I say that word quite a bit. Contrast. Contrast is where it's all at. I want dark snakes so that I can contrast the lighter portions of them. Similar to how you're starting to see on this one, where you have a really dark pattern to an orangey, burnt orangey side, and then of course pied. The whole point of its popularity is that it has contrast no matter what it is, because it has white blotches, which obviously contrast whatever it is in, because it's bursting through it. This is a pretty low white one, but that's kind of how I like them anyways. I like them low white with maybe one or two breaks in the pattern every now and again. Maybe a few saddles here and there. It looks like this one has like a bunch of them just overlapping. So blackhead's, like I said, very versatile, and it's wonderful in clown too. Everything about this in a female is really ideal. Again, a good way to work a project, a double recessive in general, is to work it opposite of each other, so you get a clown het pied, and that drives down cost. However, with that said, clown pieds have become much more affordable, and males especially, you can get on almost every auction at almost every single week. I see one all the time, and they are far more affordable than you might think, especially than what they were even 2-3 years ago at this point. And honestly, when you're talking about two recessive combos, that they will always hold a certain value. I think that's a decent value, but they will come down, because quite frankly, after you make enough examples of them, there's a lot of visuals out there, and then the visuals start reproducing, and it becomes more and more easy to create them, so they are more available, thus bringing down cost. But there is still, I feel like, a floor for them, just because they are technically 4 copies of a gene, which is 2 copies of clown, 2 copies of pied. But in a female, this is a good one to get. Whether you get yourself a double visual to put to it to increase your odds of getting this genetic awesomeness to all meld together, or you do the cost of saving a method of getting a clown het pied. There's a lot to say about that, and it's always great to have it in a female too. That's like that. So the males, I prefer to be as visual as possible, because they are usually breeding the multiple females, right? So that's why in that case I think that's ideal. Another female here would be the Stranger Het Desert Ghost het pied. So it's a double recessive with Stranger, and I believe I tried to look an example of this one up when I was kind of building this video, this live stream together, and I could not find one. So I don't know if it hasn't been created or not, but the DG Stranger pied, I do not believe it's been created, or it has not at least been shown off, so to speak. Not easily, anyways. There's a lot to say, and I feel like there's a lot to say about this, but I feel like there is variation in the Stranger gene, and I feel like it's I don't know if it's line bred or whatnot, if it's polygenic, but Stranger's Stranger clearly. But I've seen certain Strangers that are just kind of nice, and then I've seen ones that are like this. They have a lot of granulation, a lot of dark pattern. This is a very nice one right here. Free shipping on this one too, although I'd probably just go get it. We're close enough, and Gurney has a 6 Flags, so heck yeah, he could go on the Goliath with me. No, Raging Bull. I'm sure the snake would very much appreciate that. But still a really cool animal, and Stranger has become more affordable these days, which is great. I remember it being $2,000 for a single gene Stranger, and probably even more. I think I still actually remember 4,000 on that one. So, and that happens when you get an incomplete dominant or a dominant, because, well, you're breeding it very quickly, especially when you get a male. It's when you breed that to something, of course, now you're going to reproduce it quite more often, and then therefore it just keeps driving down the price because supply and demand again. But there is a lot of cool things you can still do with Stranger. It hasn't been put into everything. All the single gene Strangers are coming down in price, but that doesn't mean that when it's comboed with other genetics, that isn't out there yet. That is most certainly still something that you can play around with and create some cool things that have not been done before. Uncharted territory, no doubt. Like I said, I could not find the double recessive of this, the visual Desert Ghost Pied Stranger. Maybe it's out there with a little more research, but I could not. So yeah, lots of cool stuff to love about this, no doubt. The Desert Ghost is really going to make it pop and enhance a lot of this coloration, and Pied would do, well, what Pied does. So alrighty, let's see. This one I'm going to watch. I think you were talking about that one, I believe. There is. I didn't see what you were saying live, so I'm not sure what that was to, but you can let me know if you want. Picture perfect pythons. I just got a blackhead in-sheet leopard jungle woman het clown female from Canova. Very cool. There's always good quality when you're getting from Justin. So that is awesome to hear. We've gotten a few animals from Justin, and they've always been great. And I don't really foresee a reason why I'd ever part with them, quite frankly. They just have a lot of use. So yeah, they're wonderful animals. So this is like hearing other genes there, to be honest. Again, which one are you talking about? This one? It is bright. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's dark as heck, but the dorsal is really bright, so it does look very interesting. Let me look at the other pictures here, though. It's incredible, that's for sure. Never even looked at the other pictures of this. Alright, let's go ahead and move on, because, right here. I love the lavender snow. It's a direction I'm working towards, but with base albino and chocolate added. Yes, they are very nice. Anything with the snows is really good. But I think lavender is taking it a step up when you get the lavender Xanthics. The only thing with the Xanthic is you're always going to make sure you're working the right line of it, to make a visual example. I think most people who work Xanthic know that, but some people I've talked to don't. So you definitely need to work the proper line. They all look the same, but they are different. VPI Xanthic, you're not going to get anything if you put it to TSK Xanthic. So just make sure you're always working the line, and you're combining them, with things that are going to create visual examples. So lavender snow up there for auction. I might have seen that. So lav snows are the only ones that seem to sell. I've seen pretty nice ones for the others, but I do think lavender is better just because it has a better base, and I think they age a lot better because it was sometimes when you're, as they age with the with like the regular albinos, for example, it brings in a more yellowy type look, and then you kind of get a snake that's like two-tone yellow, and yellow on yellow does not typically contrast well. It can, but it usually will not. But when instead it's taking that original coloration and then replacing the with the lavender type look. So that's why let's see, well, I have dreamsicle stacked male as well. Lavender seems great for my direction. Yeah, we finally stepped into some dreamsicle type projects, mostly because I needed a male, like a kind of a backup male. I kind of need to up my pied projects with a better male in general again, but I needed a male for a direction I was going in. When I got him from Rice Reptiles, and he's wonderful. But he's made some really cool snakes for me. But he ended up coming with lavender. At the time, I didn't really need lavender. Het lavender, I should say. And I was like, well, I got it. Why wouldn't I take advantage of it, right? So we ended up getting a really cool girl. And that was another one we got from Canova. And she's not quite to size because she decided to go on her little, hunger strike that they get when they get to their 1,000-gram wall. And then 2, she's either a mouser or ASF eater. I've tricked her occasionally with a rat, but she is not about it right now. So I have to feed her mice or ASFs. So it takes a little bit longer in her case. She could eat her, just those. So she will not eat a rat, not unless I trick her. And the few times I have tricked her, she seems to know it and gets mad at me and then won't eat. So it's probably not worth tricking her anymore. I haven't tried. I just give her what she wants and be done with it. So I have a mouser, giant cinnamon girl, chomps like 3 mice a run. I know what I had a girl. We ended up moving on from her because she was a simple enchie we had for a while. That it was, the market was different. You just produced snakes and they would sell. But we ended up moving on from her. She was humongous. I have no proof of Volta, and if nobody knows what that is, it's a gene that's supposed to be, well, it's not even a gene. It's an area actually in Africa where ball pythons can come from, and those snakes in the Volta region are ball pythons are huge. They're just huge, and so polygenically, these animals are just ginormous. And she was like over 4,000 grams, pushing 5,000. So she was absolutely enormous. I could not fit. I think I would have to do like that. It was crazy how big she was. But near the end, she was just like, yeah, I'm a mouser now, and she would only eat mice and annihilate them. And she knew it too. I would watch her bite the mouse and just without wrapping it, just be like, that's enough. And it was nuts. It's hard to get her onto a rat. Same effect, trick her, and she doesn't eat for a month. Yeah, it's just not worth it. Honestly, sometimes you try it and say like, well, maybe I can trick them back into it. And sometimes it works, but once you've proven it doesn't work, just give it up. They're too smart. So mine was an ASS, but ASS are illegal here. We get a lot of jumbo mice. Her choice. Yeah, I find no difference in terms of them feeding. They will jump from mice to ASFs instantly. In fact, I have an older video. I intend to do a video. I kind of want to wait and make a thing of like things I might have been wrong about or were, in my opinion, maybe wrong about, or just opinions that I've had changed. And we did a video on rodents, and I wouldn't say I was like crapping all over ASFs, but I was kind of like, I'm just worried that snakes might get stuck on them. And they get stuck on a specific prey, especially ball pythons, but I don't find it's a really big issue to switch back to mice. And if you have them on mice, they're just like, okay, I don't really even know the difference. I swear, at least in my experience, they don't. And ASFs have become more available around here. And when I tried to breed them the first time myself, it was it was a catastrophe. I think it was just because ASFs form these learned behaviors, and the ones that I had gotten to try to breed were awful. Kangaroo jumped out of its cage and got into a corner, and me and my brother tried to get it, and the sucker gave me the worst bite I've ever had in terms of a small rodent. It sucked. It felt I might as well taken a staple gun and stapled my thumb. It was horrible. But then I finally came around and did another set, and they've been great. They've been great for the most part. Sometimes they beat up on their males, by the way. They big time. They'll mess them up. So yeah. Other than that, though, they've been fine. I quite frankly like them better than mice, because the mice would just cannibalize themselves. I hated them so much, and they would be like scared of the rats, even though they're not even. They'd smell them and then just like eat their own. It was crazy. But ASFs, while they will kind of sort of do that to their babies, the mice would just have these full blown wars. It was so dumb. So I've avoided mice and ASFs like the plague just for this reason. I'd say in general, yeah, you want to keep them on rats if you can, because it's just a better food source in terms of protein and content and size. That'll age up with them, but it's nothing wrong with it. So I like I said, I've changed my opinion on ASFs quite considerably. I now prefer them over mice, quite frankly. That's just my opinion, of course. My mice colony's actually doing great. My rats are 50-50 right now. Hard to get consistent smalls cranked out. Sometimes it's the season as well. We're having a little bit of a downturn in terms of our own production right now too, which can stink, especially because it means you gotta buy them. I'd much rather make them. So, and we had a little bit of success near the end before we finally switched off of mice. With mice, I had a colony that went for, well, I don't want to jinx you, for about, I think you said 6 months or so, right? I think that's what you said. Or no, you didn't say that at all. Maybe I just made that up. But it was about 6 months. They were doing great, and then they just suddenly just formed like a faction war. It was nuts. So, battle royale in that tank. I have a young male who will take mice or rats, but my eldest male right now will turn his nose up at a mouse. It's clearly not good enough for him, so I stick to rats. Yeah, I have a lot that just prefer rats and keep them on there, and I feel like they're easier to breed of all of it, so that's definitely still my preference. Good point, it is colder. Yeah, whenever it's colder, especially for anything, the rats do. I would still say they slow down, but they'll still at least somewhat produce. Probably they're Norwegian rats, so they're that's where they originally came from, was a cooler climate. So all stars. What drives me nuts about ASFs is like killing their babies fairly often. So we have had that happen for the first set. Sometimes like the first time moms will do that. And then it just depends on, mice would do it all the time. They would have a litter, and we'd make a cave for them so that they could, not a cave, we put like a little house in there for them so that they could hide and whatnot, right? But if, sometimes you need to clean, so if you like opened it, I swear to God, if you saw their babies, they'd be like, time to die. It was just so dumb. I hated them so much. And the ASFs can do that, I feel, but for the most part we leave them be, and then just suddenly like little ones start crawling out, and then it's like, okay, cool. So I've had that with quail. Go in there and there's just one with no feathers looking butt naked. Quail are interesting. I won't ever do that myself. Just don't really have the functionality to breed like the birds and whatnot here. Heck, if I had the functionality to breed birds and the ability to do that, I'd have like a chicken thing out there for not for feeding my ball pythons, but for eggs for me. Hey man, love your channel. Recently got a black pastel pied female. Any suggestions on what to breed her with? I appreciate that quite a bit. There's a lot of different avenues you could go. The easy one to say would be another black pastel, but I assume you're probably aware of the issues a super black pastel can do. We were talking about it earlier. They do create a slightly higher increase in chance of a kinked snake, which is never great. But anytime you breed at all, by the way, that's a possibility, even if you do everything right. But they are increased odds, and quite frankly, the panda pieds is what they call them, the super black pastel pieds. They have really low pattern. I actually recommend throwing it into mahogany, and trying for the black pastel suma pieds or just the black pastel mahogany pieds. for that reason, because I quite frankly think that they're better, and they're darker, and they have a little bit more oddities to their pattern. We were talking about one earlier. Here's a Sumapide, which you can throw. Oh, that's a Het Pied. There we go. They're just as dark sometimes, and then sometimes you get variety and you get something like this that's just really wild and has like a lot of differences in pattern and whatnot. In terms of color, it's really dark here. It's dark in general, but it's like really dark here, and then kind of becomes more of like a stained furniture type look to it. But if you throw black pastel, just one copy of it on top of something like this, it becomes really dark again, kind of like how this one does. And there's variety in them too, so. Blackhead's another really good one. Blackhead works good with literally everything. So anything, blackhead pieds, stuff like that, that would be really cool as well. In general, those should be really good combos, I think, that you can throw it into and avoid any of that kinking stuff. In fact, can you get me the kinked one? Because I want to show people, this is just a pied. I didn't go for any of that. It's just a normal pied. I think it might have some other stuff to it as well. But just want to show people what that is all about. So, and cheer guides. It's down there. It says kink on it too. So, yeah, those are my suggestions, Golden. So, the whole allele is more prone. That's true. If you get 2 copies of it, it's more prone for sure. I'm not sure about just one. I don't do anything with that. But if you put 2 of them together, cinnamon even in black pastel, so you just want to be careful and aware. I'm not trying to. If people want to make, still got decent body condition. That's what's crazy. This one, I'll show it here in a second. But if people want to make the panda pieds, I actually don't think that it's like. Some people will straight up say that that's not right, and to each their own. I will never do it, but I personally don't think that the odds are so high that it is irresponsible. But I just don't want to deal with that. I've dealt with some horrible things I've seen, and I just don't want to increase those odds, quite frankly. But I don't think it's that bad. In fact, I saw a picture today someone posted on Facebook of, I think they hit 4 panda pieds and 1 super black pastel. And they were all fine, in one clutch. So I usually get 1 to 2 winter snakes out of the combo. 8-ball complex. The Sumahet pied is fire though. Yeah, it's cool. But this is a kink, by the way. So looking at this animal here, remember our camera isn't great. So or not the camera, but the lighting is not great here. But it looks great. It's the kink is near the top of the head, and I don't have a lot of hope for this animal. Sadly, it's still got an okay body shape. It's had, like I said, I assist fed it one time. Basically, I force fed it almost, but it's right there. It's right on the head, right there. Maybe you can see it better from me. Of course, it doesn't want to cooperate with me. I mean, why would it, right? It's a tragic and sad thing, and I'm still trying to save to see if I can get it to thrive. That's a good example. See it? That's not good. That's horrible. And if it can keep food down, you know what I mean? What my goal is here is to just give it away to someone that knows. They need to know how to care for this. But first I want to get it, make sure that it can keep food down. It did originally. It's just I had to actually cut up a rodent and put it down. You can't keep doing that. So it needs to learn to eat on its own to some extent, and then once I've done that, I can give it away to somebody who is experienced with helping animals that are in this condition. But sadly, I think that what's more likely to happen is that I don't like waste. I despise waste, and it's very sad, but like I was mentioning earlier, king snakes need to eat. And I would rather, if I can't get this one to thrive, it go to that. But that's a kink, by the way. Just wanted to show it as an example. If if you're like I said, you're not playing you're not playing Russian roulette here. If you go black pastel to black pastel, it's not that odds. but they're increased odds. Any breeding, like I said, that's that. I don't remember the pairing, but there's no reason why that should have been kinked, except for the fact that it happens. It just happens. I think it was a high egg clutch. I think that there was. I know we recorded the actual video and put it on YouTube. I just don't know which one it was right now for the egg cutting. But I think there was a lot of eggs in this clutch, and every other one was wonderful. It's just that one sadly had a kink in it, and yeah. So I'm glad it was helpful. So but I think that you've got other options that are much better, quite frankly. Anyways, so I would recommend those. Anyways. I can possibly still make it. That's why I'm still giving it a chance. And I'm trying to just put little ones in there, little ASFs in there occasionally. But I've only assist fed it once, basically to tell me, can it get the food down? Can it do it? If it cannot, if that kink was so bad that it just made it impossible, I would have immediately moved on and made plans to, had to call it, but it did. So it's a lot of work, but I'm going to attempt to do so, and maybe we'll have a cool story to tell. Do I have kinks for the same reason? Yes. Yep. That's the best. Like I said, I need to get another one. I've tried getting a little one to grow it up. That wasn't good. And then I tried to get the Arizona Mountain King Snake. I saw it and I was just like, no, these are sick. And then I'm gonna breed them too. And I was gonna do one pairing. What? My phone is buzzing. Spam. Twice? 2 spam calls. That's wonderful. Anywho, anyways, I got Arizona Mountain King Snake, and they are beautiful. They're unbelievable. I was like, this is the best. And I literally was like, king snake's a king snake, right? This is why you should always do your research. Arizona Mountain King Snakes are the smallest king snakes by a lot. I didn't realize it at the time, but I had bought in a full-grown adult female, or no, male in that case. And it could not take down a bull python. It could not. Maybe a female if they get a little bit bigger, I think. But I didn't have one, and it was like, okay, well maybe I'll buy a female and grow it up. Well, there was really none available, so I eventually moved on from that project. So, but I do need to get one again, so that I don't have to so I can deal with it myself rather than trying to find someone to, if I have to do that. So hard for it to get food down when the kink's that close to the head. Yeah, because it affects, it affects the hunting too for its striking, because it's like that. So I mean, it's got to hunt like weird, right? So that's the other problem. So sometimes it happens when the mama's squeezing. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but we'll see what happens. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move into like I said, I got a few hognoses I like to show off. There's actually a decent amount of them. We always show off the hognoses. If anybody doesn't know, we do breed. Well, we're going to be. We're growing them up right now. I really love hognoses quite a bit. In fact, I almost made this my choice for my primary breeding. But I already had a bull python for quite some time and knew more about them, so I was like, it's probably the responsible thing for me to do this. And then if this takes off, I'll eventually get into hognoses, and well, here we are. So hopefully next year we'll have something more to add on that. So, but I'm doing a lot of the sunburst stuff. I think the albino is incredible. And on that, there's a really nice one from JMG, who's for hognoses, probably the closest thing to describe them to is they're the Canova of hognoses. They make some of the absolute most incredible looking things out there. And they're like at the forefront, at least in the States, which, I mean, that kind of makes sense. They are from our United States, or I think they might be in Canada, and the Western hognoses as well, natively as well, but in general in the Northern Americas, whatever you would call it. And then there's a lot of other variants like Mexican hognoses, and they are over the world too. There's Madagascar ones, all sorts of stuff. So, but this one is awesome because it's a sunburst, which is a combination of the albino and the sable, which is usually a very dark. Sable is a pretty dark morph in general. But the Super Arctic kind of changes that up. It's 2 copies of the Arctic Gene, which I like to say is kind of similar to Fire. Well, in its single form. Obviously, it's double form. It does not create an all-white snake. But in this case, it really frosts it up. And, well, it looks pretty darn close to pink here. In fact, I'd argue that the undertone is just straight up pink. Little earthworm here, whatever you want to call it. And they got deep ruby red eyes. Like I said, it doesn't surprise me at all. The price. Hognoses in general are kind of up there, especially for some of their higher end morphs. And Sunburst is still a really popular one. So it doesn't surprise me at all. And like I said, still got a day left. So and then we showed this one off, I think, last time too. But it's got a little bit less time on it. No bids on it yet. It was the same exact as it was before then. But they're starting it basically at their reserve. And I've just said this before, how I kind of like that myself anyways. I think that there is a place for reserves. And I definitely like the options available. But for me personally, if I wanted to put something up and wouldn't accept anything less, this is exactly what I do. If I said, I want this, I'm willing to sell this snake, but I ain't going to accept less than 600 for it. Well, my starting bid is going to be 600 because to me, I just, the reserve is just something to get to create, like, oh, did I beat it? Where is it at? So I would rather just start it where my floor is, basically. Free shipping on this, cool looking animal too. So leucistics, 5 years ago were 10 grand. Like, that's not a joke. I saw them myself at Tinley on a table for 10 grand. And they're still pretty darn expensive. It's a far cry from the cost they are in ball pythons, which is probably not even a tenth of that at that point. So yeah. But those are some of the hogs I wanted to show. Like I said, if you are in the hogs, there's an okay amount this week. This is kind of actually a dark horse one right here. I'll get one more, the Mai Tai Maker. If you want to grow them up, that's a really cool combo right there for sure. And yep, we're going straight into something like this. First, I'll read the comments. Love my sassy little worms. Yep, they're very sassy. My nicest one's the only one that bit me because it was like, oh, thanks for the food, and I didn't get envenomated though. Because it's rear-fanged, and you might be surprised, like, what are you talking about? They're venomous? The Hognoses, well, yes, rear-fanged, and about the consistency of what a bee sting brings. So nothing too crazy, unless you have allergies up the wazoo, in which case you would probably just, their teeth are so small that I often see people just wear surgical gloves. In fact, I don't know for sure, I could be completely wrong about this, but JMG, every time he holds one, he is wearing surgical gloves. I believe he might actually have an allergy, but I could be completely wrong. I thought I heard that from somebody once. And, he wears surgical gloves, and it prevents their teeny little teeth from doing anything, so. But yes, let me keep going with the comments before I jump into this. I'm going to work towards Super Conda males, or sables. Those are cool. I actually, for a long time, didn't care for the Super Condas, even though it's unique because it straps all the pattern from the snake except for the head, which is wild how the gene knows to stop there and just create this cool little mask on there. It's crazy how genetics work, but in certain things, it is cool. If you get a color morph, it really highlights it. So, Macomorph, I was surprised at the last show I went to, the price on hogs and how many they sold. Hogs are really popular, and quite frankly, real quick, the 3 vendors sold 8 over 750. I was surprised. Hogs are only being held back. Honestly, look at how many morphs there are, and I'm telling you right now that is multiplied a lot. And on top of that, they have some of the best polygenic traits. And by polygenic, it means something that's kind of just worked with passion. So Extreme Red is one of those where it's just naturally in it. So if you breed an Extreme Red, all of the babies are going to have some example of that. It's something that's not like 50-50 like with these. Mojave has a 50% chance. It's not recessive where you need 2 copies of it. It's just is. That's why you take 2 of them and you bring them together and you increase how awesome it is. It's so cool. But they're starting to grow up. The only thing that's really holding Hognoses back are laws. And by that I mean that it's a native snake. since it's native to the United States, there's laws on it, and if it's native to your area, you very likely need a permit to keep them and breed them. They are not native to where we are, but they are in our neighbor state because they are native there. The eastern hognoses are actually native where we are, and they are thus needing a permit to be kept. But easterns are not the most easy to keep, and they're very cantankerous. You think that the westerns are, the easterns are even more crazy. They're pretty much always pretending to die, and then since they're always stressed out, they eventually might actually do so. So yeah, this is one I'm fairly sure is a derp. Yeah, they're all derps. All my hognoses are derps. I go to feed them and they literally have launched themselves out of the tub. They're so derpy, and it's like, I don't want to pick you up because you're gonna bite me. So yeah. Purple line super condos. The purple line, we have that. We have extreme red. Those are really nice. So someday I'll get like something. I don't like wearing gloves when it's, handling snakes and stuff like that, but sometimes with them I will, because they'll just start eating me. It's like, dude, stop. Love the purple, dark, ghostly vibes. Can't have eastern hognoses. We can have western as well. Yeah. So yeah, just to finish that topic before moving back into this one, and I know there was a comment about the monsoon there, but the like I said, the only thing that's really holding them back are laws in place to help conserve them, because we don't want to over collect them from the wild. But at some point, quite frankly, it becomes a little pointless to collect them from the wild if they're being produced so well in captivity, that it's just, yeah, just don't. Just don't. And preserve the wild population of it where you're at. So that's really the only thing that's holding them back, is that, quite frankly. Alrighty. They are indeed drama queens, Sarah. Alright, I'd love to have monsoon still out of my price range as a hobby. They are expensive. If you can work head to head, that is sometimes the best way to get one. They're not insanely expensive working head to head anymore, I would say. Of course, your odds are terrible, but once you hit that snake, you're good to go. But this is about as cheap as you're going to get it. And I mean, they go for a whole heck of a lot more. I saw from Jersey Guy Balls, actually, and they make wonderful monsoons, by the way. We have a het from them that we purchased, and we're growing up. So they sold one on Palm Street for just over $4,000. And Palm Street, which is kind of a wonderful app, mind you, but it's usually where, you think these are good deals. Usually you get a lot of better deals on Palm Street, and that still went for over $4,000. So this is a really good deal. So if you want a monsoon, this is now the place to get it. It's free shipping as well. I didn't even see that. Not that on a $3,000 price tag that is much to worry about. But like I said, this is one of the guys to do it from. Really quality stuff, and a really crazy starting price, quite frankly. It's really, I know you look at that and you say $3,000 is good, but it is for a monsoon. They're still listed into the 8,000s, I think, as a going price. So this is a potential to be a complete steal, quite frankly. And a male is going to be able to breed and create hets for you fairly quickly. Obviously working into clown, there's a lot of other things. I would immediately want to work into monarch, obviously, because that's what I work. Combine those two genes into each other would be insane. So had to show it. You do not see something like this on auction quite often. Tested negative for Het Sunset. Now that would not be for sale, I'm telling you right now. If that had tested positive, I don't know what the rate of false negatives are, but man, that would have been insane if it was at Sunset as well. Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty good looking one here though, and monsoon is the pattern disruptor. There's nothing that does it like that. Named, I assume, for the fact that it looks like monsoon raindrops. There's a lot to love with it. Now, with that said, I also acknowledge that, like, where do you go from there for pattern? Do you don't really? I mean, I guess you could, but I've seen it work well with clown because it does the starriness on the head. I used to not care for the pied, but I saw one recently that was totally changed my mind. I was just like, okay, maybe I just saw, a different one. But they are great too. Color morphs, any color morph will be solid with this as well. So. If you are into monsoon and you want to pull the trigger, if you've got this and you're ready to invest in the insane project, this is a really good deal. And from, like I said, this is from one of the best breeders just in general. I've had always great interactions with Jersey Guy balls, and they have great quality animals. So. They have done Exanthic months, or have they done? I'll take a quick look, but I don't think so. Macamorph here in New York, we can't have a lot of stuff. Yeah, I had heard that there's a lot of restrictions there. I know in New York City, I think ball pythons are banned in New York City, which is just mind-boggling to me. To think that a ball python is going to establish a native presence anywhere in... really almost anywhere. I mean, Florida would be the only place maybe, but I know Hawaii, they're banned there too. But yeah, to think a ball python could establish a native presence is insane. They might live in the summer when they get out, but I mean they're never going to be able to produce, and due to temperature drops anywhere in pretty much any climate, and when a frost comes along, they're just done. They're just done. So, what were we looking for? Exanthic monsoon. That'll be a nice one too, especially if you can get it with the DG someday, the triple hat. That would be so amazing. If it looks like I'm looking around something, it's because I literally am. The camera. There's two screens. There's one here and one here, and the camera is in front of all this. Somebody put Exanthic monsoon with question marks. Oh, that's mutation creation. That was in 2003. He might have just been talking about making heads though, so. That's why there's so many rats. WTF, imagine catching New York rats for snake food. Oh, in New York. Well, in the city there is. I think. But I would not want to feed any live, or not live, but any rodent that I caught outside to my animals. They'd be definitely just asking for pests. Is that it? I don't know. I mean, I can't really turn on the sound here. I feel like I've seen this video, but it's been a bit, so. Okay, here. I mean, could that be it? Regardless, it's pretty wild. There's a regular monsoon there. Whatever it is, it's pretty solid, and I'd imagine that's kind of what you're looking at in terms of it. That's why I say you get Desert Ghost on top of that as well. Yeah, I think that's it. I think so. This one right there. See if there's any more zoomed up pictures. I think that's it. So if you get Desert Ghost on top of that, you'd turn that gray into a white, really, and you would embolden every little dot, and it would look very, very cool. So, pretty darn neat, that's for sure. Whether it's gray or if you get that other one in there. So, yeah, definitely a great way to go with that. Color and shading or enhancing type genes are the way to go, rather than putting more pattern enhancing to that. I don't really know. I really don't know where you go or why you would really need to mess with the pattern of the monsoon. It's already perfection. So, alrighty. 5 more here, I think. No, 4, because one of them's a picture. So, next up would be this banana clown, het pied. Banana clowns are some of the snakes that many people say cause them to want to get into breeding ball pythons. And guess what? Yours truly, a banana enchi clown I saw from, I'll never forget, I don't know what the video was precisely, but I can replay it in my head. It was from Royal Constrictors, and he was showing a new hatching. He doesn't really do egg cuttings or anything like that. He just says, here's the snakes I made, and then showed them, and it was a banana enchi clown. And at the time I was like, holy smokes, that is the most insane snake ever. And I think it was actually a coral glow is what he called it, but coral glow and banana are the same thing. But either way, I was like, that's insane. That is absolutely insane. I said, how much are they? And they were like $2,000. And I was like, oh, I had a banana ball python and this was a long time ago. This was a very long time ago now. And I was watching this video and I was just like, that's insane, but I don't want to spend $2,000. And I said, well, what if I make it? And that's where that kind of began. And a lot of people have the same story with banana clowns because they're just so darn cool and so beautiful. The fact that it's het pied as well is just a big time bonus. And it's a female. So again, clown pieds are not expensive really anymore, especially the males. They are not all that bad, and you can immediately start making banana clown pieds. And again, being in a female, the banana gene is not going to operate its goofy way. It will produce both males and females rather than the males, who will pretty much only produce females or males, depending on if they're a male maker or a female maker. This one will act normal. It's babies, I can't say that for though. It depends on if they're male or not. But you could go the cheap route again and get the the pied het clown. And the benefit of that, by the way, I am saying is, again, the visuals are not that expensive anymore. But the benefit of working 2 hets against each other is that you're saving on cost, and you're guaranteeing that you don't need to worry about the hets. Because if you get a pied het clown, it must always pass on 1 copy of pied. Since you have a clown het pied, it must always pass on 1 copy of clown. So you are guaranteed at minimum 1 of 4 base results, not withstanding the banana or any other genes in there. If you take all that out, you're guaranteed a double het at least, which is and all of these are 25% odds, by the way, so it's all fair. The double het would not have any visual examples, but you'd know that it's het pied and het clown. You'd also have the ability to hit the clowns het pied and the pied het clowns. 25% chance for both those. And then, of course, the next 25% comes from the actual visuals. So good odds, honestly, all things considered. And much cheaper if you wanted to save some money. And that's really something you can apply to any double recessive combo. If you wanted to try to save a little bit but still work cool projects and increase your odds and not have to worry about possible hets or 66% hets or all that sort of stuff. Again, being a banana, you get a male with some really cool power to it. You can make some really cool stuff. Like I said, I already said the enchi banana clown is a really cool one to go with. You have that het pied you're playing with though as well. So Swedish Fish, hello, how are you today? For me, it was a piebald back in 2005. Pieds are, pieds and clowns to this day. I say it many times, and I think I'm gonna. Did I say it in this video or the video after? It's the video after. We filmed a few videos ahead, finally, again. But clown and pied are the benchmark genes. Pied's been around a little bit longer, but whenever something new comes along, a new gene, everyone says, I can't wait to see it in clown and pied, making them, to me, personally, the benchmark genes. They are the genes that drive quite a bit. Clown and pied, that is. And that won't change regardless of how you feel about them. So, they were like a small Honda Civic, and yes, they were very expensive. I bought proven breeder pieds a long time ago. They've made their monies up for me quite a bit. But they were once very expensive, and now not as much. But at the time, I did pied het albinos, and I got an albino het pied male to go to them. And I was actually from Royal Constrictors. Ironically, I called them up and we did business. It's the first time I ever spoke to him, and it's a great guy. But at the time, the babies I was creating almost instantly were going for over $1,000 each. Now they don't go for that, but they still have made their monies for me, and they're still awesome. I still make them to this day. So I ended up getting us a parrot instead at the time. But it's a baby. Yeah. Parrots are also very expensive, unless you get a budgie or a parakeet. Alrighty, so we're gonna move into these. The last two here are kind of a bundle that we're putting together, and it's because they're both the same thing, but ending at different times. They're both het sunsets. This one's got some size to it though. It's only at $140 right now, and about 2 days left. Maybe this ends up being a steal for you. It's halfway to size roughly already, 750 grams. If this thing goes even for double this, maybe even triple with the size to it, you got half the work, half all that feeding, all that money and rats. It's been put into it for you. Really good deal if you want to start working sunset, because you're jumping ahead a little. You're gonna have one that's ready in a year and a half probably. So really great, really great opportunity here for somebody, I think. And then you've got another one here. I don't know what the size, it doesn't list the size on this one, but let's see if it says it down here. Whew. Nope. Small mice weekly. It looks like it'd be a bit smaller though. That one is only a couple hours more. Yeah, there's no doubt that this one's a little bit younger. Still got its a little bit more brighter baby colors to it. So but if you don't know, if you're just watching this channel because you're curious or whatnot, maybe you've never seen a sunset, that's what 2 copies of the gene look like. And it's pretty intense, and yeah, for the longest time people worked sunset, naturally it makes sense. They just be like, I want to put it in Enchi, I want to put it in cinnamon, increase these colors. But I feel like that ended up making a snake that was much more dark, and it got a reputation for being a snake that browns out as it ages. But that is not the case. People, I think, finally said, oh, let's work it in other directions. And it makes sense why you would say, oh, well, this will be great with cinnamon. But, something as simple as banana, or just another recessive, like the most recently Ultramel, that is insane. That's why I mentioned earlier that I want to work it into my Monarch. I want to do a breeding project, quite frankly, where I put someone who has got an established sunset or something like that, we put it in the Monarch. We both get hets from it, and we both leave very happy and make visuals. Now, someone probably is already on this for God's sakes, I imagine. Sorry, I gotta grab something here. But in the meantime, I'm not waiting in terms of to see if it's good to create it, because I know if I get the ball rolling now, it will be good. But that's my how I plan to possibly work in the sunset, is with Monarch at least. But there's a good chance, right? Because they're good deals right here. Being in females, that's the way to go. Raise them up, get them to size, and then buy your male. Whether you go visual hunt sunset or not is up to you. I mean, I said they're going to be a little bit more. Males may be cheaper nowadays, though. We saw one go for not a crazy amount. I think we missed the ending of it, though. But we looked at one in our last video, and it was still pretty. It was a pretty good. It's still expensive and up there, but it's a pretty good price. Helicopter passing over us. Yeah, visual male sunset just went for $550. That might be the one we were looking at. So sometimes, depending on when things end and if it's a male or whatnot, you can get things for decently good prices on these auctions. Because the thing is that with these auctions, as a seller, this is amazing. So if you're watching this as a seller, this is go hog wild. Have discipline and get within your projects, right? But this is incredible deals. You can level up your project so massively. I can't even begin to tell you some of the things that, and I'll never discuss what I got them for because I don't think that's right. But I'll just say that I got really insane deals, and I got into projects that I maybe thought I had no business at that moment getting into, that are sitting right behind me, that are just wow. And you can do that here. You go to a show and buy them, it's going to be a little bit of a different story. But when you put an animal up, and if you don't put the reserve on it, or if you don't start it at where you want it to be, you have to assume that depending on who's on, you might not sell it. Maybe the person who was super interested never saw it. They're at work at that time when that ends. There's a lot to say. I mean, I've missed out on certain ones because I liked them, and I work in a place where the signal isn't all that great for my phone. So I never got the reminder that it was time for it to end in an hour, and I just, oh well, missed it. Never know what it went for. Never really got a chance to actually throw down and go for it. So I'd say if you're a seller, try to get your things to end around this time, quite frankly, and on the weekend as well. That's your best bet. But even then, you could still have the ability for someone not to see it. Another good time to not sell, quite frankly, in my opinion anyway, is around a huge national show, whether it's Daytona or Tinley, which is very close to us, because people are going to those shows. So your audience is now going to those shows, and they're going to be eyes out on that, really. So if you are a seller, it's my opinion anyways, it's not the greatest time to do so. But yeah, you can get the males for much cheaper, and you can start producing visuals pretty darn quickly. So whichever one you wanted to go with. This one has a lot more size to it though, and quite frankly is more interest, clearly. But not much different right now in price. See what they end like, right? I think this one's a little afterwards, so you could technically try and go for both, and then if you miss out, go for this one. So, but yeah, that's what a visual sunset looks like. And there's lots of ways to keep them very nice. So here's an Enchi cinnamon sunset. When they're babies, it's insane how beautiful they are. So, but yeah. All right, for our last one here would be this GHI Black Pastel Clown. It is a male, but just goes to show you what a simple 2-gene combo, especially in clown, will do. And GHI is one of my favorite genetics out there. Black Pastel is phenomenal. It's very potent in what it does. It usually works very well with most things, and I think obviously GHI and Black Pastel work great together. You get this very cool toned snake. Head pattern's completely been wiped out, but I love the whites this white siding that just kind of is creeping up from the sides, and then you've got the pattern which stands in stark contrast to it, and right about in the middle there, it just very quickly fades to a completely different color palette right there. Absolutely gorgeous, and we a really good male, honestly. I wouldn't say he's a powerhouse by any means, but these are really good genes to have. And you should have multiple males anyways, so maybe he won't be your powerhouse male, but he's a great backup male for other ones for other animals that you need to pair to and whatnot. So shed testing proved not het. Not het for what? They didn't put. But it was going to be het for something else, maybe. So, but that doesn't matter. So, all right. Well, that is everything for today. If anybody's got any questions, we'll hang around here for another few minutes. Again, if you did not catch it, we are changing our lives from Tuesdays to every other Thursday. And normally we had a video that came out on Fridays, an edited video that was very similar. This is how we got started doing this, in fact. That's going to change in regards to the fact that they're just going to swap with each other. So basically next week, presumably, we will have a video coming out on Friday that will be an edited video. It won't be a live. And then the week after that, presumably, it'll be a live again. And then not live, and then live. So the live one would be on Thursday, though, because, I mean, if this hadn't been live, I'd been filming it right now, clearly, and that's what I do, is I film them, brother here edits them, and then they're out on Friday at 11 a.m. That could change every now and again, though. So things might happen, or they're a show and we're just a little busy and it's just harder to edit and whatnot. But in general, they will try to keep it like that. But it should either be Thursdays or Fridays every single week, depending on if it's live or not. So you can always maybe join our Discord there. I think my brother linked it there. And just for news and to talk to people, I pop in there from time to time too. Brothers in there, we're all in there, and people to kind of talk with each other and just kind of create a community of people that want to help each other out and just talk and have fun and whatnot as well. So and we'll obviously we try to throw video hints up there too. I think I saw somebody, I think Agar, you were mentioning on, I didn't reply to the comments yet on YouTube. Sometimes that feels like a full-time job, but I saw you say that that YouTube wasn't pushing the video out to you, and we've heard that multiple times. It's frustrating.
Which one?
The most recent ones, some of them. I think he was saying that about the live. He missed it because it didn't notify. I think that's what. If you're still here, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that's what your comment said, though. I don't know who we. Do we have a YouTube rep? There's can we at YouTube and be like, hey. But that does happen. So I get them, just usually really late. See, for a live, that's kind of pointless. So I don't know why YouTube's doing that.
They're supposed to schedule them really early in advance, but we don't even decide if we're going to do these or not until 30 minutes before.
Yeah, because we're so crazy busy sometimes, honestly, it's like we don't know if we can. So while we would love to commit to doing it consistently, I just can't. And we have been very consistent, but it's just, I don't want to lie and be like, hey, we're going live, and be like, oh, couldn't. That just seems to suck. So I just tell people, hey, we probably will on Thursdays. Maybe we'll look into that and change that. I don't know, and whatnot. But they should. I feel like once it goes, it should pop up and say, hey, this person's gone live. If you're a subscriber, anyways. I get it if you're just watching, you don't do that. But if you're a subscriber, I feel like it should do that. I mean, that's literally what you do it for. But fortunately, YouTube's great. But obviously, there's things that fall through the cracks sometimes. So. But yeah, we'll go ahead and leave it there. So hope everybody enjoyed. We have what's video coming out this week? Oh, where is he? Where the hell is he? You here? I can't show him because he's doing what I want him to do. But we got a new snake, and we're gonna unbox him and we're gonna talk about what he is and do kind of a morph highlight as well. So stay tuned on Sunday for that. We will be at a show this weekend in Crown Point. If for whatever reason you are local to the Northwest Indiana area, come see us. It's the fairgrounds. It's a crazy big show sometimes. The one year it was just so nuts. We that's so many people through the door, and I think it's code. Well, it's not the same building, but it's in the fairgrounds, and the other building just down the way has a gun show that happens at the same time. And well, people who like guns and people who like snakes, they're peas in a pod. And we were insanely busy, and I expect the same. So if I do not respond to messages over the weekends, it's because I'm sleeping or working. So anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful night, and we will oh wait, one more. Got a delivery of 5 snakes today. Finally a day for weather. Nice enough. Been waiting for a month and a half. We've been waiting for a long time for good weather for this snake. And there's one other one, quite frankly, that they just didn't feel comfortable to ship, and I don't blame them. I am fully patient. I'm just like, nope, safety of the snake, period, end of story. I've been that way forever. That's why if you look at my Morphmarket page, I quite frankly do not have anywhere near as much. I have 3 snakes listed. I just looked today, actually. I have 90 behind me. I might not even renew at first. It comes due next week. Obviously, I'll still be on Morphmarket doing all this stuff, but I don't know if I'll renew right now. At this time, at the minute, anyways. But I don't even know where my train of thought was. Oh yeah, waiting for snakes. We have one more from Ball Python, not Ball Python shed, CD Constrictors, which I am really pumped for. I'm super excited to get this animal, but CD Constrictor is going to be at Tinley, and that's in 2 weeks apparently. So honestly, I'll just see you there, brother. That's what I kind of feel like saying to him. So it's just like, just bring it there. Safety of the animal makes it even better that way. So, but all right. Have a good show. Stay safe. Thank you very much. Just need to remember to eat. I agree. Doesn't mean the weight wasn't killing me. It does. Trust me, because the one I got here is a breeder. I'll say that it's a breeder male. Like I said, he's doing his thing. So I needed him, and now I finally got him. So I was very happy. So put him through his paces, and I got friends that can test for stuff, so I don't have to do as much worry around quarantine, and we're gonna go. So alrighty, but yeah, we will go ahead and leave it there. Hope everybody has a wonderful night, and we will see you in the next one. Like I said, it should be a recorded one next Friday is when it would come out. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.